So, usually when we think about learning something massive, like say an entirely new language,
Mm.
we tend to picture this really crowded, heavily structured
I
environment.
would definitely like rows of desks.
Right, exactly. Rows of desks, a teacher at the front, a syllabus handed down to us from on high. It's this collective journey where you are essentially just a passenger on a bus that someone else is driving.
You just have to sit there and let the institution carry you forward.
Yeah. And, well, we're doing a deep dive today because stepping off that bus completely changes the landscape.
It really does. Because the institution acts as this massive cognitive safety net, you know? It outsources your executive function.
Wait, what do you mean by outsourcing executive function?
Well, when you're in a classroom, you don't have to decide what to study or when to study or even how to measure your progress. The environment does all the heavy lifting of organizing your time and attention.
So you can just focus on the raw material.
Exactly. You just absorb. But when you leave that,
Suddenly, you're looking at a trail you have to blaze entirely from scratch. And that is the exact scenario we are breaking down today for you, our listener. We're looking at a specific set of source materials revolving around a few highly focused phrases.
right, the core texts.
Yeah, and just to lay them out, the phrases are the solo path to English fluency, learn English alone at home, the complete guide to English fluency, and improve your English fluency.
Which, I mean, on the surface, these sound like basic internet search queries.
Right, they read almost like SEO book titles.
Yeah, but if you actually take the plunge, if you adopt this framework, you are embarking on a really profound psychological undertaking.
Okay, let's unpack this because I am fascinated by the implications here. It sounds so simple, but it represents a huge life-changing mission.
It does. You are fundamentally rewiring how your adult brain acquires a complex skill in total isolation. What we're looking at here isn't a discussion about, the mechanics of memorization.
We're not talking about specific tools.
No, we are analyzing the mechanics of the autodidact. We are breaking down what it neurologically and psychologically demands to take complete ownership of your cognitive development.
Without a formal institution to lean on.
Exactly.
Well, the phrase that immediately jumps out at me is, learn English alone at home. Let's look at the alone at home aspect first, because the psychology of our physical environment is incredibly powerful.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, learning a language alone in your living room? To me, it's akin to training for a marathon purely on a treadmill facing your couch.
That is a brilliant analogy.
Right, because when you train with a local running group, the external pressure forces you out the door. If you skip, someone asks where you were.
You have accountability.
Yeah. In a classroom, you do the homework.
Yeah.
Because a human being is going to look you in the eye and ask for it. But on that living room treadmill, the couch is like 3 feet away,
It's just sitting there.
calling your name. Your television, your bed, your ultimate comfort zone, they're constantly pulling at your attention.
And the friction you're describing there, it's deeply rooted in environmental psychology. It's something called spatial anchors.
Spatial anchors.
Yeah. Our brains are incredibly efficient pattern recognition machines. Over years, your brain has mapped your home environment to specific physiological states.
Oh, well. So my couch is literally wired to make me tired.
Basically, yes. The living room couch is neurologically linked to delta and theta brainwaves. Those are the states of relaxation and rest.
Okay, that makes so much sense.
So when you sit on that couch and suddenly demand that your brain shift into the high-frequency beta and gamma waves, the ones required for intense linguistic focus, your brain fights back.
It's like, whoa, what are we doing? This is nap time.
Exactly. It experiences massive cognitive dissonance.
So that's just a matter of, I don't have enough willpower. Your own living space is literally signaling your nervous system to power down.
It is a biological boundary problem. When the source text advocates learning alone at home, it is implicitly challenging you to master your own environment before you can ever hope to master the English language.
You have to win the battle of the living room first.
Right. You have to actively create a microenvironment, like a specific chair, a certain desk, maybe even a specific lamp you only turn on when studying.
Something that triggers focus rather than relaxation.
Yes. You are literally retraining your spatial anchors.
That plays right into the burden of the solo path, which was another one of our phrases. If you are managing your own spatial anchors and fighting off the neurological urge to relax, I mean, you are carrying a double workload.
A massive cognitive load, yeah.
You aren't just a student anymore. You are the principal, the curriculum designer, the strict disciplinarian, and the project manager all rolled into one.
And that's where decision fatigue becomes the biggest threat to the solo learner.
That's so.
Well, in cognitive psychology, every choice you make depletes a finite reserve of mental energy. So if you sit down at your newly established study desk, but you still have to decide what to listen to, which rule to review, and how long you plan to study.
You're exhausted before you even start.
Exactly. You have burned through half your cognitive fuel before you've learned a single English word.
Which means the solo path requires you to separate the planning from the execution.
You have to.
Like, you have to be the principal on Sunday night, mapping out the week's curriculum, so that on Wednesday evening, you can just be the student who sits down and follows the plan.
That is the only way to survive the solo path. And, that brings us to the inherent paradox of this entire endeavor.
That's the paradox.
Well, we are talking about mastering English alone at home on a solo path. But fluency, by its very definition, is a communicative tool.
Right. It's meant for other people.
It is dynamic, messy, back and forth, and entirely social. Yet, you are attempting to master this highly social instrument in a complete vacuum.
I'm really glad you brought that up because to me, it feels like building a high-performance engine inside a closed garage.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, you are assembling the parts, the vocabulary, the syntax, the phonetic understanding in this dark, controlled environment.
Yeah.
You never actually turn the key and drive it out onto the highway to see how it handles traffic.
But here's the fascinating part. Building the engine in the garage actually offers a massive neurological advantage.
Really? Wait, how is hiding in the garage an advantage?
It has to do with something linguists call the affective filter hypothesis.
The affective filter. Okay, break that down for me.
When we try to speak a new language in front of other people, our anxiety, our fear of judgment, and our self-consciousness create a cognitive block.
Like performance anxiety.
Exactly. That block is the affective filter. It physically prevents the brain from accessing the language structures we've actually already learned.
Because your brain is too busy managing the social threat of looking foolish.
Precisely. You are spending your cognitive load on social survival rather than linguistic retrieval.
Wow. Okay, so by choosing the solo path and learning alone at home.
You drop that affective filter to zero?
Oh, because no one is watching.
Right. The closed garage is a zero-stakes environment. You can mangle the pronunciation, you can fail to recall a word for 3 whole minutes, and there's absolutely no social penalty.
So you are allowing your brain to focus 100% of its resources on assembling the parts.
Phonetic parsing, syntax trees, all of it, without the paralyzing anxiety of real-time performance.
So the solo path isn't about remaining isolated forever. It's about having the audacity to build the foundational machinery on your own terms.
Exactly.
You are simulating the interactions, running the engine in the garage so that the individual parts are well oiled before you ever hit the highway.
But building that engine in a closed garage is incredibly overwhelming without a schematic.
Sure.
If you just have a pile of engine parts on the floor, you're gonna freeze. And this is where the psychological appeal of our next source phrase comes in. The Complete Guide to English Fluency.
Okay, I have to jump in here because I really want to push back hard on that phrase.
Oh,
Well,
why is that?
The Complete Guide to English Fluency. Whenever I read something like that, my immediate reaction is just pure skepticism.
Fair enough.
I mean, can anything truly be a complete guide to something as fluid, evolving, and chaotic as a language?
It is a bold claim.
Language is not a closed system like algebra, where 2 + 2 = 4, and once you memorize the formulas, you're just finished. English is a living, breathing organism. Slang changes hourly on the internet.
That's very true.
The way we speak at a corporate boardroom in London is fundamentally different from how we speak at a coffee shop in Melbourne. Claiming there is a complete guide implies a finality that simply doesn't exist in linguistics. Honestly, it feels like a false promise designed to sell books.
I completely see why you'd argue that, and you make a great point. But you are conflating fluency with an infinite lexicon.
Okay, tell me more.
If we define complete as an exhaustive dictionary of every idiom, every slang term, and every contextual nuance you will ever encounter, then yes, it is an absolute impossibility.
Right. It would be 1,000,000 pages long.
Exactly, but linguistically speaking, the complete guide refers to something entirely different. It refers to the syntactic and phonological framework.
The framework, not the vocabulary itself.
Right. Think of it as the architectural blueprint of a house.
Okay, I'm with you.
The blueprint doesn't tell you what color the furniture will be or what kind of art you're going to hang on the walls. It doesn't even tell you who is going to visit.
It just shows the structure.
Right. The blueprint just tells you where the load-bearing walls are, how the plumbing connects, and where the roof sits. The complete guide to English fluency represents that architectural scaffolding.
Oh, I see.
It gives the solo learner the finite parameters they need to feel safe. It says, here are the core grammatical structures, the primary verb tenses, the essential rules of sentence construction. Master these, and you have completed the necessary groundwork.
You know, that completely shifts the perspective for me. It's drawing a box around the infinite.
Yes, that is exactly what it's doing.
Because when you stand at the bottom of the mountain of a new language, the sheer volume of what you don't know is paralyzing. If you treat language as infinite from day one, your brain just panics.
It leads to immediate cognitive overload. The brain cannot process infinite tasks. The human mind requires boundaries to initiate action.
So the complete guide serves a deeply necessary psychological function for the independent learner.
It artificially bounds the infinite so you can actually begin. It provides the map.
The map.
And a map of a city is not the city itself, right? It doesn't show you the shifting shadows or the smell of the street food, but it gives you a complete overview of the main highways.
Which bridges perfectly to the final piece of our source material. Because once you have that complete map, you actually have to start walking.
You do.
And that is where our last phrase, improve your English fluency, comes into play. If the complete guide is the noun, the static map, then improve is the verb.
I love that distinction.
It is the action of actually walking the territory.
And the contrast between those two concepts is where the actual learning happens. Complete sounds like a destination. You arrive, you get your certificate, you're fluent, you're done.
Boom, finished.
Right. But improve acknowledges the biological reality of neuroplasticity. Fluency is not a light switch that suddenly flips from off to on.
It's not binary.
Not at all. It is a biological process of thickening the myelin sheaths around your neural pathways through relentless repetition.
The continuous infinite game.
Exactly.
Like improving your fluency on a Tuesday might just mean you finally understood the cadence of a joke in an English movie without looking at the subtitles.
Yes! A huge win.
And then improving on a Thursday might mean you ordered a coffee without doing that clunky native language to English translation in your head first.
This is essentially the application of the Kaizen philosophy to language acquisition.
Kaizen.
Yeah, it's the Japanese concept of continuous marginal improvement. It is the belief that tiny incremental changes compounded over time lead to massive transformations.
Okay, I like that.
On the solo path, you are essentially laying down one brick a day. Nobody sees the foundation being built because you are doing it alone in your house.
Right.
You're just stacking these tiny bricks of vocabulary, these minor grammatical corrections, these fractional improvements in your vowel sounds.
But, you know, the danger of stacking those bricks alone is the lack of feedback.
Oh, the isolation is tough.
It really is. When you are alone at home, striving to master that complete guide, it is incredibly easy to become highly critical of your own progress.
Because you're in an echo chamber.
Exactly. You don't have a teacher looking over your shoulder to say, hey, your pronunciation on that paragraph was actually much better than last week. You only have your own perception.
And let's be honest, human beings are notoriously terrible at self-assessing slow growth.
We really are. We only see the massive gap between where we are and the native level fluency we want to achieve.
So how do you fight that?
Well, the concept of continuous improvement is the ultimate antidote to that solo perfectionism. It demands that you measure backward. Measure backward, like look at where you started.
Exactly. Instead of looking up at the terrifying, cloudy peak of the mountain, you look down at your feet and see how far you've climbed since yesterday.
Oh, that's powerful.
In the absence of an external teacher, you have to actively cultivate self-compassion. The independent learner must become their own source of positive reinforcement. You have to recognize that those invisible marginal gains are actually the literal rewiring of your brain.
And that invisible labor is the true hallmark of the autodidact.
It really is.
You know, the source material we're examining today, these 4 short phrases, they don't just offer a method, they offer an identity.
An identity shift, yeah.
To accept the premise of the solo path is to adopt the identity of a lifelong learner. You aren't just studying English to pass a test. You are walking the solo path. That entirely reframes the struggle.
It changes everything.
When the grammar feels incomprehensible and that living room couch we talked about earlier is calling your name, you aren't just failing a homework assignment. You are facing a trial on your chosen path.
And the resilience required for that identity shift is immense. The trajectory is never a smooth upward curve.
Definitely not.
There are brutal plateaus. There will be weeks where the complete guide feels like it was written in alien hieroglyphs, and the mandate to improve just feels mocking.
Oh man, I've been there.
We all have. You will hit a phase known as the intermediate plateau, where you know enough to realize exactly how much you don't know, and progress seems to grind to an absolute halt.
The linguistic desert.
The desert, yes.
You've been studying alone in your living room for 6 months. You turn on an English news broadcast, and it still sounds like a wall of impenetrable noise.
It's discouraging, but navigating that desert requires returning to the architecture we've discussed today.
Right.
You rely on the microenvironment you built to trigger focus. You return to the finite boundaries of the guide to lower your cognitive load.
You focus on the smallest possible unit of improvement to restart your momentum.
Exactly. You rely on the intrinsic motivation that made you step off the bus in the first place.
Well, let's synthesize the journey these phrases map out for us, because the text outlines a genuinely bold, self-directed architecture for the mind.
It really is a blueprint.
We start with the environment, making the conscious, difficult choice to learn alone at home, overcoming the spatial anchors of our comfort zones to build a laboratory of cognitive growth.
Then we adopt the mindset, embracing the solo path, which means accepting the heavy cognitive load of being the architect of your own curriculum.
And utilizing that closed garage to lower the affective filter and learn without social fear.
Yes. Next, we establish the framework, leaning on the complete guide, not as an impossible dictionary of all human interaction,
but as the essential finite architectural blueprint that protects us from the paralyzing infinity of language.
Beautifully put. And finally, we execute the daily reality, the commitment to continually improve, embracing the Kaizen philosophy of neuroplasticity.
Where every tiny, messy, solitary victory slowly builds the neural highways of fluency.
It is a profound blueprint for mastering anything in isolation.
It truly is. But as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you, the listener, with a final lingering thought. A question that pushes right past the edge of the source material.
The final step of the solo path.
Exactly. Because throughout this entire analysis, we have focused exclusively on achieving explicit knowledge in a vacuum. On the solo path, alone at home, we've talked extensively about the benefits of building the engine in the closed garage.
Right, dropping that affective filter.
But language is fundamentally about connecting with other human beings. So the question you have to ask yourself is this. When you have put in the hundreds of silent hours, when you've walked this solo path and built this beautiful, intricate structure of fluency entirely within the safe, zero-stakes sanctuary of your own home.
What comes next?
Right. What happens in that thrilling, terrifying moment when you finally have to press the garage door opener?
Oh, that's a scary moment.
What happens when you step off that solitary living room treadmill and you are forced to test your carefully constructed engine on the unpredictable, shifting, messy pavement of real human conversation?
The transfer from isolated explicit knowledge to real-world implicit performance. It is the exact moment the map truly meets the territory.
It's the scariest and most rewarding part of the entire journey. Something for you to deeply consider as you continue building your own engine. Thank you for spending time with these foundational concepts on today's deep dive. Until next time, keep walking that path.